Chapter. Welcome to the Rising Phoenix Business Community Hour. What did you used to say? A variety hour?
Right.
I'm Sandy Corrigan, and my husband and co-host
Tom Corrigan. I was waiting for the
is
setup.
here, and our great
properly.
friend and amazing guy, Chuck Blakeman, over there in the teal shirt.
And I'm going to interrupt this regularly scheduled program to bring a bit of levity to the show, because you have to make fun of this stuff, so we're making fun of it. Here's what the principals in the schools are thinking: should I open? Should I not open? It's a little bit like Lucy and the football, I think. And then there's this one. It finally dawned on me what Zoom meetings remind me of. If you're over 40, you'll get this one, but it's like the Muppet Show, everybody's just in their little thing. I love this one. Relative importance of 2020, things in 2020. Coffee remained just the same. Cars, way down. Internet, up. Shaving, nah, not so much. Alcohol, through the roof. Toilet paper, well, it had its day, but it's kind of gone back to normal. And sweatpants are just on the rise continuously. So this is relative importance of stuff in 2020. The real emergency is going to be in 20 years when these kids are adults running the world with a homeschool education brought to them by day drinking. They're never going back to school. This could be bad. And then, of course, there's this one. First time in history we can save the human race by laying in front of the TV and doing nothing. Let's not screw this up, people. We can do this. You can do nothing.
What though? There's nothing new on. We've all watched all the Hulu, all the Netflix, right? There's because they can't produce anything new except really bad stuff. So I don't know, our TV watching is way down.
I saw one meme. The guy simply said, "Today I finished Netflix." He just finished Netflix.
What's the international slogan for 2020? You're muted.
You're muted. Yeah, it's a little left-hand button in the bottom corner.
What are we doing today, Tom?
We are. Let me read something to you, just on a little bit more serious note. Set us up. The question is, how do you handle change? Most of us resist as much change as possible. And why? Because familiar is easy. It's what we know, what we want. We want predictable. Change upsets the status quo. And who wants that? Especially now. Who wants more change?
Only if you're the one making it happen.
That's right. So I would say I love change as long as it happens to you.
I got a great title of a book for that. I actually took the URL for it. My buddy John Heenan gave me the title. The title of the book is called "Change is Good. You Go First."
That's the truth. So yet I've come to realize that change is actually good and good for us. Think about it. Without change, how could we grow or learn new things? And hopefully, you're here because you're one of those people. You're a lifelong learner, and even in the midst of challenges, you want to embrace challenges and inspiration and change. And without it, life can be boring. So change does upset the status quo, and it's a good thing for us. It does. But change also brings new meaning to life at home, at work, even in our neighborhoods, etc. So we're glad you're here with us, because this is about not only change, but embracing the fullness of life and not hunkering down and going into protective mode and defensive mode.
Yeah, and I want to say something about this change, because I've been thinking about this. I think the thing that makes us the most uncomfortable right now, like the thing that is like, oh, that's too hard, or I can't do that now, or it's not the right time, might be the very thing we all need, right? It might be the very thing we all need to press into and say, oh, this is coming to me for a reason. I need to look at this. This is the time I can incorporate. I can push back. I can push through my being uncomfortable, right? Because we do not learn unless we are disoriented. And I'm finding a lot of people searching for certainty right now and hunkering down and, and not wanting to, press into that stuff that's hard. And this is the time to do that. And this is the time where we need each other in community to do that. So thanks for bringing that this morning.
You bet. You bet. So as we go on in a few minutes, we're going to introduce Chuck, who's going to introduce a new book that he's bringing out, some highlights from that. And I want to challenge you to take a couple notes, because we're going to break up and to get into smaller groups and sub rooms that you're welcome to join us in. You might want to ask yourself the question, what tool that Chuck talks about do I need most in my business today? Because it is a collection of really hands-on tools that I think you're going to find incredibly practical and applicable no matter what kind of business you're in. We're also going to have what we call a bottleneck segment, and you can be thinking about that ahead of time. You can be running to the front of the line to present your bottleneck that's possibly an option, an opportunity, a problem, or a challenge that you haven't been able to embrace, and that you can really benefit from the wisdom of crowds. This is an incredible gathering of brilliant people on this call. And many people have walked away with, of course, that's how I should do that. And their business has maybe turned a corner. We will end with what we call BFOs, blinding flash of the obvious, or what's an aha moment for you, something you're taking away from today's show, because we always want to make this applicable. And then we'll end with a thought about community and how important it is to us in this time. Why don't I pass over to you? What exactly
is a rising phoenix anyway? Has anybody ever seen a rising phoenix other than mythologically? Right? It's interesting living on the ranch. We see the cycles of regeneration on a regular basis, right? We're in the country, and so we see that in animals and in nature, that and we're coming into that season where things are going to start to get dormant. Things are going to actually look like they're dying, but under the surface, things are being reborn for the spring and for next year. And so this Rising Phoenix community we created because as things were changing rapidly and all of us were like, oh my gosh, what's going on in the world? We looked at this great metaphor that this bird is, that chooses actually to settle into old things, to have them burned up, to be able to have new life, new opportunity. And like Tom started off, the change doesn't feel good sometimes. There is a loss, there is a grief, there is a death. I always really feel like that in fall. So find somebody you can even express that to, and then look for the new opportunity. And so, that's what we still embrace, is what things have to go so that new amazing things can emerge. And how can we be influencers in the world to encourage other people to keep going and to come along and to be part of the good things that are coming from the difficult opportunities that we're going through. So you can go on our website. You can obviously click on the link to join the show. You can put somebody on there that you think has a great story of innovation or turnaround or shift that we could interview in a spotlight portion of our show. This is a place for you to do bottlenecks, to say, I have a bottleneck, which is up, kind of what keeps you up at night. What haven't you figured out that you can come to this group and get wisdom of crowds and support and encouragement. So glad you're here. And also always the latest survival guide and information on business and funding and opportunities available for us as small business owners are always there. So if we do not have your email us at grow@3to5club.com. So it's grow@3to5club.com, so that we can always give you the latest updates on what's happening in the community and the survival guide. And we don't upsell you and
it's not a backhanded way to get your contact information. It's only used for updates for the survival guide.
And then put your information in the chat box as well, so that you can connect with one-to-one in between times. We've got people on from Ireland and around the world today. So this is an opportunity for you to deepen relationships with one another. So who's on today? Who's our special guest today?
Some guy named Chuck Blakeman, noted author and speaker and inspirer of good things, good friend of ours. Chuck has got a new book coming out that we're thrilled about and excited to
we've been reading.
He keeps in our Zoom meetings with him. He keeps showing us, flipping the pages, but we haven't actually had a chance to read it.
Yes, we have a copy.
I haven't got my hands on a book yet.
That's true.
But I'm looking forward to that. I like a physical book in my hand. Chuck, why don't you cue the rest of these folks up so they can get an idea of what to expect.
You're muted.
Yeah, you bet. I am. Thank you. People like it. My wife likes it when I'm muted. We're excited about this book. We've got a new book coming out called Re-humanizing the Workplace by Giving Everybody Their Brain Back. And it's the sequel to Why Employees Are Always a Bad Idea. And it's a very different book. The Why Employees are Always a Bad Idea was the who, what, when, where, and why of the participation age. And this one's the how. How do we build a company where people can participate and share in the rewards of doing so? So we're going to jump right into that here today. This is an advanced copy. I got a couple of them, and the majority of them are supposed to be here in the next 3 weeks, and we're going to be launching in late September, early October. But we'll give you guys a preview of what we're up to. So, and if you've got questions, shout them out. Hit your space bar and shout them out, or put them in the chat box, and Sandy and Tom will see those. We're going to fly through this, but this is recorded, so you can see it that way as well. So we're going to rehumanize the workplace. There's the book. How do we do this? Isn't the workplace already human? Aren't there humans there already? Well, kind of, but not really, because the darn thing's broken. 32% of people at work are not are engaged. That means almost 70% are phoning it in on a daily basis. That is fundamentally broken. If you had a machine that was at 32% of its working capacity, you would do everything you could to fix it before you replaced it, but you would not put up with 32%. That's the norm in America. 51% are looking for a job right now, and if you listen to some, it's up to 65%, and that was actually in a good economy. Today, it's probably even higher. This is the worst statistic. 86% of people would rather be doing something else, according to Harris. Only 14% of people have found something they love doing. This is fundamentally broken. Will we fix it? How do we rehumanize the workplace? How do we do that? If you don't remember anything else, this is the key to the whole thing. Distributed decision-making. What makes you an adult? What makes you a human is creativity and understanding of your mortality and those kinds of things. The one thing that makes you an adult more than anything else is you get to make decisions. The agent of responsibility, agency of responsibility is a fancy term for that. But it's just the ability to make decisions. You can eat the ice cream anytime you want, which is a curse and a blessing, depending on how you use it. And distributive leadership. In order to distribute the decisions, you have to distribute the leadership. You can't have a hierarchy that makes the decisions from the top down. So everybody's making decisions. The principle behind all this is the more input I have, the more ownership I will take. Input equals ownership. And if that's true, then decisions should be made where they have to be carried out. How does this work out? Well, here's some companies that have done it really well. The average S&P grows 122% every 10 years, or 12% a year. Jim Collins' Good to Great companies grew 30% in 1 year and 316 in 10. And the participation age companies that we know of that are just in the Fortune 500 have in the same period grew 4 times faster than Jim Collins' Good to Great and 10 times faster than the norm. If you want to make more money, it's not about making more money. It's about getting your people in a position where they can make decisions and getting everybody involved. You do that by what we call a mission-centered organization that has three realms of leadership. Tactical leadership, that's a guy, anybody pushing a broom, making a phone call, taking a phone call, developing software, doing the actual stuff that makes money. Strategic leadership or strategic tactical, those are the people in the middle who do something with making money as well as the running of the organization. And then strategic leadership. And all of them work for one boss. We flatten the organization by saying we are mission-centered, and every one of us exists at the pleasure of the mission and to serve the mission. And if you see me not serving the mission, then you need to talk to me. So I don't have any other bosses. The mission is my boss, and we have different kinds of leadership. Could this work better? Well, here's a bunch of companies doing it. A lot of companies are working in this direction. Most of these companies are fully participation age companies. Some of them are on their way. GE Aviation all 8 of their aviation divisions, there's not a single manager in the whole place in GE Aviation. And yet they do some of the more technical, dangerous stuff in the world, making airplane engines.
Hey,
Here's
Chuck,
some, yeah.
Chuck, can I just chime in a minute? Since the last couple of months, we've been doing freedom mapping and how to hire people as small business owners. And that page you just showed us is also a lot of organizations. How does this work if I'm the only guy? Like if I'm the only girl, like who else do I have in my organization that I could share some distributed decision making?
Yeah, you've got an accountant, you've got an outsourced marketing person or a social media person. Anybody who has, the stakeholders are the key here. And a stakeholder is broadly defined as anybody who has a vested interest in the success of your business. They're all stakeholders, and so you can react and respond to all of them this way. Here's a great example of a very small business. It was actually Alan and 1.5 other people. Alan and a full-time mortgage processor and a half-time administrator. How does this work for them? Well, that loan processor was doing $55,000 a year and doing 8 to 10 loans a month before they got involved with these 12 tools. And after that, she was doing $125,000 a year and doing 22 to 30 loans. Same person. Nobody has ever figured out this is the average nationwide for slinging loans, 8 to 10 a month. That's really good for a loan processor. She blew the doors off because she was able to make localized decisions. Here's a small organization with, started out with 2.5 people, $185,000 a year. The owner was taking home $30,000. And after embracing these tools, they are now a $3.5 million organization, and the owner, the owner of that organization runs it from 2,000 miles away. She lives here, and her businesses are in DC. Here's a bigger organization with 34 people. They couldn't get past 9 million, and the founders had taken 2 weeks off in 18 years, 2 weeks total. After they embraced these things, they blew through that and are now making 25 plus. The owners now take 2 weeks a month and 1 month in the summers. They take 5.5 months a year off and couldn't figure out how to do this before that. And then a very large organization has been doing this kind of stuff since 1958. If you wear Gore-Tex, that windproof material, that's these guys. 60 plus years, no titles, no bosses, no formal hierarchy, 53 years straight without a loss. And one of 9 companies to make the best places to work list every year since Fortune put that out. And 7 of those 9 companies are participation age companies. Why did they do this? Because it works better. Revenue, profitability, productivity, staff retention, they're all higher if you stop focusing on the hierarchy and management, all these bureaucratic things, and you focus instead on distributing decision-making. So here's the 12 tools. We're going to run through these quickly because, again, there's a book to read. Business, beliefs, and culture. When we talk about beliefs, this is not do you believe in Santa Claus or do you believe in cultural things that I don't believe in? You know, this is not political. Do you believe in left or right? Beliefs are about business. What do you believe about business? Why does business exist? Why does work exist? What about your company? Why does it exist? What do people, do you believe people are stupid and lazy or smart and motivated? Do you believe work exists in order to make money or in order to make meaning? What about leadership? Do people need to be managed or do they simply need to be led? And what is success? Every one of these things are cultural beliefs that everybody needs to hang on to. And then the leader concept of the 12 tools of distributed decision-making. Again, leadership is the most valuable asset we have. It's trust, and the most valuable practice is consistency, and you get those through great leadership. Here's the definition. Any act that improves the life, situation, or performance of another individual. With that definition, anybody can be and should be a leader. We lead from our seats, everyone. Management, on the converse, is something we don't need in the participation age. Management is the use of power and authority to command and control for the benefit of the management or the manager. That's the top-down hierarchy that we call a pyramid scheme, because pyramid schemes are built to benefit the people at the top at the expense of the people at the bottom. And that's what management is. And that's one of the reasons that 51 to 65% of the people have their resumes out, and 70% are disengaged, and 86% haven't found something they enjoy doing, because these people are making decisions for them and are not allowing them to be adults. It's that simple. So nobody needs to be managed. The idea here is manage stuff. Stuff needs to be managed. People need to be led. We've conflated people with stuff. I am not stuff. I don't need to be managed. Lead me, give me a vision, guide me, mentor me, train me, and get the heck out of my way so that I can actually make decisions and make you more successful. The third tool is distributed decision-making teams, what we call DDM teams. DDM teams look something like this. Here's two people on a team. And in most organizations, if Abby wants to talk to Laura, it looks like this. Abby has to go through the manager, her supervisor's inbox, it goes to the manager's inbox, it goes to the director's inbox, back out of the director's inbox to the manager's outbox, to the supervisor's outbox, and then they have to concur with the person on the other side, on Laura. And so they go through 3 layers there. And 3 months later, the news gets to Laura, and it's nothing like what Abby had sent. Or it just gets stuck in one of these outboxes because it's not somebody's political priority. When in traditional management, you have somewhere between 10, if it's really clear, and 38 touches. Is it any wonder that decisions don't get made? Here's what it looks like in what we call a latticed organization, where 2 people are making decisions for the benefit of the organization. And this is more organized, and there's a way to do this without chaos or anarchy, but it's 2 touches. If Abby needs to get something done with Laura, Abby talks to Laura, and they get something done. And if it's Team A wants to talk to Team L, Team A talks to Team L, then they don't have to go through hierarchy and bureaucracy and politics to get it done. Here's what that political thing looks like that we're all familiar with. And all these functions are the purview of one manager who has to be God and somehow get all this crap done. In a self-managed team, there's all kinds of people on the team who can take these things, break them up amongst the members, and people are actually doing what they're good at. And you no longer need a manager. Now you have a team of people working together. Here's a great example. If you need an image of what a participation age company looks like, this is it. It can be hockey, it can be field hockey, lots of games look like this. Who's in charge? The person with the ball. Where's the coach? On the sidelines. Is the coach important? Yes. But the coach is a leader. They don't play the game. They train, they mentor, they guide, they vision, they envision, and then they get the heck out of the way. Who's in charge here? Whoever gets to the ball first. Leader, leader. If you see something in your organization that needs help, go embrace it. Grab the ball and run with it. That's a tremendous, this is just a great picture of a participation age company. All right, the step number 4 is tool number 4 is 2-step decision making. This is the safest, most elegant process for making decisions you'll ever embrace. You never make another decision in a vacuum or miss the input of those who are affected by a decision. And they do it without prolonging the decision-making process. One of the top 3 complaints in every company is around communications and specifically not knowing about decisions that are being made that affect a team member. 2-step decision-making is the best communications tool you'll ever adapt. Kudos programs. Kudos programs are simply about one of the most important things that we do is recognize people. Yet it's near the bottom of just about every manager's priorities. We teach a system of peer recognizing peer, which is proven to be much more effective than having managers do it. So this is about peers recognizing peers. It's a great place to start when building DDM teams. Freedom mapping. Freedom mapping is about the highest and best use of everybody's time and talents. What if you could replace the cumbersome operating manuals and job descriptions with an elegantly simple system that frees everybody to embrace their highest and their best and be in their best? Great roles, responsibilities, clear roles, metrics, even results-based incentives are all possible with freedom mapping. And then metrics tied to the maps. We need metrics. Most companies are running processes for the sake of running processes, and they're really not, the only metric is, did we run the process? Every process should be about starting with defining the result desired and then build the process around that result. Pearson's law is interesting. It says when we measure things and report them back to people, productivity improves exponentially. Metrics give us that opportunity. Most companies are not metric driven. You might get a bonus at the end of the year because the company made more profit, but you have no idea what metrics drove that or what you should have been doing to influence that. We give you a simple process to do just that. What's a metric tied to a map? And then number 8 is peer recognition surveys. Peer recognition surveys are about being together in working together, and it's more like it's a system of peers recognizing peers rather than managers recognizing peers. And it's the most effective way to do it. And it's about recognition. It's not about catching people doing things wrong. And then results-based incentives. Results-based incentives replace things like bonuses, worn out things like bonuses that people have been doing for 100 years that make no sense because they're not based on metrics. What if you were actually in a company where you did 10% more work than the person beside you, you got 10% more pay? Or if you did 50% more work? We've all known about, we've all been in teams, at least I have been, where you work beside someone or there's 10 people in the team saying 8 of you are doing a great job and 2 people are goofing off because one's the uncle of the manager and the other one's funny to the manager. And they do nothing, but at the end of the year, you all get a 2.3% pay raise. What if it was actually results oriented? Commitment letters. Commitment letters are about permanent change. You want permanent change? Too often we go through things and 6 months later, we're right back at the habits we had. We need new ceremonies, rituals, and habits that are key to making that happen. Our brain changes when we physically sign documents and agree to things and implement them together. One of the most powerful, simple, and effective tools of DDM teams is commitment letters. And then 4-step training. 4-step training is a peer training method. Again, most training is not done by peers. It's done by the training expert or the manager. And they're not the ones that are going to be the best at this. Training usually consists of, at best, pulling off your best producer off the work and having them, kind of wing their way through the helping of the new person. What if everybody could train using freedom maps and a simple 4-step process? We teach people how to do that. And then reverse hiring very differently. The industrial age taught us to rely on resume, skills, experience, and education. But there are some things that are more important. We teach people how to relegate old hiring priorities to the bottom and hire for the right things, your belief, your culture, your talents, which are the things that nobody can teach. We need to be hiring for those things instead. I had one person preview the book who was a New York Times bestseller, and she says this chapter by itself should be a Harvard Business Journal article because it's just revolutionary to the whole concept of hiring. So those are the 12 tools, blitzed through them. And of course, there's a chapter on each one, and there's how-tos, specific how-tos that take people through the whole thing. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll ask you, what are you going to do about this stuff? And we'll get into our small groups from there. Tom, Sandy, back to you.
Go ahead.
That was a fire hose, wasn't it?
It was good.
No, good overview. Thank you for that. So I'll covered a lot of ground in a few minutes. Hopefully you captured a couple of those ideas. Some of the ones that always pop out to me are about the whole issue of distributed decision making, whether or not I'm working from my values and beliefs, and really do my actions and my planning really reflect it. Thank you for putting that up there. So the question is, that before we go into smaller groups in the breakout rooms, is which one of these really popped out to you that it's a soft spot for you, or you haven't really thought about it or pressed into it, or you could really use some additional help in this area in your business. You're going to get an invitation to go into a group here in a moment, and you don't have to accept it if you don't want to participate, but don't sign off. Just hang out. We'll be back in 6 minutes, back to the larger group, but we'd love for you to participate and hear your thoughts on these things.
See you in the rooms.
Welcome back.
We were in the middle of a
we had
engaging conversation.
Yeah, we ran out of time. We could have used 16 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyone want to share real briefly, an idea that either you shared or somebody else did? Even better if somebody else did that moved you.
Well, the big thing in our group is, Chuck, you got to sell us the book. We got to see all the different areas in this thing. So it sounds very intriguing, the different concepts moving forward. It's
Good.
the now time. since like they said, 80% of the people didn't want their job not before anyway. So
Yeah.
it's time to find a new one.
Yep.
Thanks, Les. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm just really fascinated with the whole concept of the mission being the boss and how to actually implement that. And Chuck, I'm another person that really wants to get my hand on that book as soon as it's shipping, because to me, it looks like a manual of how to do that, you know? And
Yep.
I really like the way you've laid it out. It's just, I'm really impressed, man. I think it's gonna be a great book.
Yeah, I worked with one team, one $300 million company. The CEO stood in front of all 120 people, and he said basically this: I used to be your boss. I've now today I fire myself as your boss. I'm now rehiring myself as your leader, as one of many leaders. And I only, I exist at the pleasure of our mission statement. Who knows our mission statement? And somebody shared it. Okay, that's everybody's boss going forward, including mine. You now have no bosses except that one. And everybody exists to serve that boss. And if you have a question about what you should do, ask the boss. Ask the mission statement, and then ask other people if they think you interpreted the boss correctly. And so if I ever see one of you not serving the mission statement, not serving the boss, I want your permission to share that with you. And if you ever see me not serving the boss, you have your permission as well. Flatten the whole structure in one 5-minute meeting.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone
Can't
else?
wait to read it, Chuck.
What's that?
I can't wait to read it.
Okay, well, we'll have a pre-order list here in the next week. We've got a website that's almost done.
I just want to add something to that, what Chuck just said. I think what I want to add to that is that people who can lead, they have to be those people. They internally have to be those. So if they are not, words can't make us lead.
Nope.
So that's my main thing is I think the bottom line comes down to is the personal responsibility that all those principles, Chuck, that you shared about, they're wonderful, wonderful. To be honest, I actually took some, I hit Command-Shift-3 to take a picture of those, right? So what I'm really saying is, but the really, truly, what matters is, can I internalize those things? And then can I become the person who can actually lead further?
Sanjay, this is why it starts with business beliefs, because business beliefs are right here, and they have to be in every strategic leader's head right here. We have to all believe the same things about people, work, money, success. We have to be on the same page culturally. And the owners of the company, or the founders or the CEOs of the company have to fundamentally believe the same thing about people, that people are smart and motivated, not stupid and lazy. And that is the biggest mindset issue that has to be changed. No one would ever say their people are stupid and lazy. They would just say, I'm smarter and more motivated, which is, a backhanded way of saying the same thing. Or I'm more experienced. I have to make decisions for you because you are not capable. And until we get over that, you can't make it. I had a CEO call me from a major corporation in Boston. And he said, where would we start? And I said, well, I'd have to meet with the 8 or 10 leaders of your company and see if you actually believe that people are smart and motivated. If you don't, we're dead in the water. This is not a consulting gig. This is a mindset shift.
Well, and from what we've learned from you, Chuck, and interaction over the years, it goes beyond mindset. It goes to heart set, because once you believe that,
Better way to say
start
it.
really caring for people and want them to succeed.
Yeah.
You're not just waiting around for them to screw up so you can identify it, but you're highlighting their dreams and their vision and their talents and trying to accentuate that in any way, which moves us again towards the mission.
But I think back to what you're saying is it has to start with us. So when I look at the 12 tools, I have to say, what do I believe about these? What am I doing about these? Is my messaging about these consistent with, am I just expecting everybody else to implement this? So where do I have to change?
Yeah, a great example of that mindset or that heart set is the CEO of Barry Waymiller, which is one of these participation age companies. He talks about heart count instead of head count. Just simple things like that communicate a very different view of the world.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. One last one. Anybody feedback, observation? how you experience to other people. Okay.
Okay, let's do.
What? Somebody got to jump in?
May I say something?
Oh yeah, Wayne.
Please.
Oh no, who was it?
Malcolm.
Oh, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Please.
Chuck, I just want to encourage you. This book is in time and on time. We were at a huge conference last week for 2 days, and a lot of the talk was about the same things. Build a place of work where people have the freedom to do what they love doing and get behind them.
I appreciate that. In fact, this book was finished before the COVID pandemic started, but we will be putting a sticker on the book that says the go-to resource for how to work remote, because it really is about working without managers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. So, how about a bottleneck? Who wants to go first
The
today?
bottleneck is an issue, opportunity, challenge that you'd like to get the wisdom of crowds on. And so what we do is we let you describe it for a minute. We ask you clarifying questions for 2 minutes so we can really understand. And then we want to rain ideas and suggestions on you. And at that point, you mute yourself and just take those in, because there's something amazing about people who don't know enough about our business to ask us great questions and give us great suggestions. So
I have one. I'm representing 2 German medical devices cleared by the FDA, and it actually helps people heal much quicker. And a gentleman or lady told me the ones that really need this are hospitals that send people to facilities for rehab. He said if they come back to the hospital within a certain period of time, both the hospital and the rehab gets fined up to $50,000. And he said, if I can get into the hospitals, the rehab, or the connection between those, they would really love this technology. And so what I need help with is if anybody knows those connections or how to get into hospital rehabs or the facilities that do it, the connections. That's what I need to know to contact who would be in charge of such. And I have no idea who here's medical or isn't or whatever.
Yeah, so if there's somebody, sometimes it's not you who know it, but sometimes you know someone who might know somebody. So if you may not know the person directly, but if you know someone, put that in the chat box for Les. That's a great opportunity to help Les along. Who else has a bottleneck that we could speak to that might take some complicated or complex feedback?
Yes, somebody challenged us on this recently. Said this is too risky. Yeah, it is. You put yourself out there and say, I don't know. But nobody's been mortally wounded in doing one of these, and they've all benefited from it. So there's a risk-benefit analysis you have to go through. But this is a great place to say, I don't know, and not be judged. And people really want to see you move forward.
it's like,
If no one,
go ahead, JR.
if no one wants to go, I can go. And my question is very simple. How can I make friends? How can I make business friends or partners during this COVID time? I'm just having, I actually think that when I was a kindergarten, it was so easy for me to make friends, because my long-term vision is that I want to make, business partners, someone we can complement each other and grow business and all that. And I'm just having a hard time, like how I just don't know how to make friends anymore.
It sounds like a good one for all of us. So I think let's
Yes.
capture this one and carry it forward.
Right.
Okay, so let's take 2 minutes and ask him clarifying questions so we make sure we understand what his challenge is. This is
JR, what kind of business you have or
So-
any interest? What kind of business or interest?
Yeah, so I do professional speaking. I specialize in mental health and cultural competency training.
Thank you.
does
So, JR,
what-
what's changed from how you used to make friends to what's the obstacle to making those business friends now?
So I think for me right now is in the past, I have my list of friends or business friends, I feel like I could just pick up the phone and call them, start a conversation. But now maybe it's my internal struggle, but I just feel like it's harder to connect with people.
So when you are picking up the phone, are you saying it's harder to connect with people, like they're not available or not open, or?
Yeah, yes, they're not available, they're not open. And in the past, we could just go walk down the street for a coffee or go to a happy hour. And some of the options are limited, and people, at least maybe it's also my fault, like just less engaging. It's harder to engage.
Thank you.
So JR, what you're saying is that you, in the past, relied on personal meetings with people face to face in order to form friendships. And I think that that's actually a very necessary thing that this electronic stuff is not going to remediate. But is that what you're saying, is that you've just in the past relied on meeting with people to form friendships?
Yes, I feel more comfortable. I prefer that more than Zoom or, yes. My first preference in person, second preference over the phone. So.
Anybody else feel more comfortable face to face with people? Let's just see. We see if, yeah. So you're in good company here. Great.
Anybody else have the same bottleneck right now?
Although some introverts didn't raise their hands, that's
right.
okay.
All right,
Okay.
that's 2 minutes. We're going to take 3 minutes, and
So JR, we're going to ask you to mute yourself so you're not tempted to give us a reason why this isn't a good idea. And so we want to just rain suggestions and ideas on you.
And I would just say, I think we should all be listening with both ears, because every one of us has this very same need right now. So there's going to be a nugget in here for all of us.
Yeah.
JR, if I can jump in, one thing is to absolutely stay connected. Don't allow yourself not to be. I've written a lot of personal notes to my good friends and business associates using the U.S. mail. I've sent some surprises in the mail. I have actually on my desk right now 45 envelopes like this with my latest book in it, and 45 lucky people will get those in the mail in the coming week if the USPS can get them there. So it's just it's random acts of kindness. But what I've chosen to do is actually write 3 books this year. One of which is, as you know from last week, the sticky note. It's just a lot of fun. Words of inspiration. The one I just did finish writing is When Mom and Dad Need Help Caring for Parents and Loved Ones. And I'm sending them to people that I have done business with to stay connected with them. And again, just take the effort, even if it is a phone call, or even if it's a parking lot. If you've got a nearby park, I mean, Colorado is such a beautiful state. Call everybody and arrange for an outdoor meeting to get together, bring your own refreshment, bring your own snack, and you can sit 10 feet apart and actually have a conversation with each other and reconnect. But stay connected. Don't allow being locked down at home to keep you from being connected, because we're human and we need the human connection. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you, Wayne.
And I would just dovetail on Wayne's just to say, JR, that, even if it's one person as a friend or 2 people as a friend, you get 3 chairs sitting around a nice pond or something like that for an hour, and schedule it at a point where it works. And all of a sudden you may find that all of a sudden there's 10, and it just goes like that. So.
Hey, JR, I have most of my voicemail cleared on a regular basis, but I have 5 messages that are on my voicemail that people left me. And one of them, I think they use something called slide dial. So it bypasses anyone answering the phone and goes right into your voicemail if you want to leave a message without talking to someone. And this is a guy I recruited into real estate who left me a message about the value that I made in his life. And that years later, he wanted me to know what I, basically brought to his life. And I have kept that message as a personal encouragement. So besides the thank you notes, you might want to engage something like slide dial and just start leaving messages about how you feel about people and what they've meant to you. And you know, it goes a long way. Nobody has enough encouragement, right? Anybody have too much encouragement today? Like you're overflowing in encouragement?
Not so much.
So just another way to connect sincerely. And you're really good at that.
Yeah, and we'll finish with this, JR. In my interaction with you, you're a really good thinker. And because you understand the whole issue of how we think and how our behavior matches our thought, everybody needs that right now. So maybe just send out something, random thoughts from JR, you know, what are your thoughts, and to start engaging people, you know, that way.
Yep. And Chuck puts in here, what does this person need? How can I help them get that? Lead with something that will meet their need, meet people where they are, not where we want them to be. Love Wayne's random acts of kindness. And you're really great on meditation. And gosh, who doesn't need some moments of peace and quiet? Like, I thought you were coming out tomorrow to the ranch, and it's next week. And I'm like so excited that you're coming. So, you know that people are excited that you're reaching out.
Oh,
And I would say one more, other people need what you need. So figure out how to meet your need by meeting other people's needs. One way to do that would be to find a group of people who have something in common in business, and see if they all need new friends. And why don't you start an online mastermind group for the 6 or 8 or 10 of you that you meet once a week or once every other week or once a month. And in many cases, you can even charge for these kinds of things, but you might end up with 3 or 4 or 5 different mastermind groups with people in different pockets of business who could work together, and you end up meeting their need to make more friends. And as a result, you end up getting more friends.
And Connie put in here, LinkedIn groups are a great way to be able to find commonality in people as well. So that was a great bottleneck for all of us. I took a bunch of notes.
thanks, JR.
Thank you.
As we're wrapping this up this week, just want to remind you, we have what we call 3 to 5 clubs. These are gatherings of small business owners, and we work on these issues, these 12 and a few others throughout the month. And you're in a committed community of people who want to see you succeed. And we do bottlenecks every time we meet. It's a place of encouragement and support. And you can go to 325 is the number 3 to5club.com. Find out more about those and where they are. And we have virtual, doesn't matter where you are in the world. We have groups that you can participate in. So love to see you there.
Also want to remind you, you may have already gotten the email. If not, again, go at grow@3to5club.com, because August 13th this week, we have a workshop that Chuck is teaching on freedom mapping. And freedom mapping is the premier tool to move your business forward and get off the treadmill and actually make more money in less time and get more freedom. We also have a special announcement to make, and that is that our next Rising Phoenix call will not be next Monday. We are moving to once a month, and our next call will be August 31st, same time, same place, because the first Monday of every month for September happens to be Labor Day. So we'll meet August 31st, and then if you can and we'll send an email out, but we just wanted to let you guys know right away that we're moving to a once a month gathering. And so you can put the first Monday of every month. If it is a holiday, then obviously we'll switch, but we did want to let you know about that.
Yeah, we wanted to make this into a bigger deal once a month, more important for all of us once a month, and feel like we got us through the purpose of this was to get all of us through the first unknowns of the pandemic kind of thing. And we feel like we did that, but we've gotten enough traction and we feel like we want to keep going.
And we are still looking for special speakers and, people who have a platform for something to say we can all learn from and discuss. So, feed those our way too, so we can be in contact with people to be in that spotlight place. And so
really the key of who we're looking for is somebody like Wayne, who can bring something that we can actually apply to our lives. Doesn't matter what kind of business that you own, or whether you're a startup or whether you're mature business leader.
Yeah, and
So
Connie said, I assume you'll be continuing to update the guide. Absolutely. Chuck said you'll update that regularly. So let's end today with some BFOs.
We have a training coming up? Oh, you mentioned the training.
The training.
BFOs, blinding flash of the obvious, a big aha from today. You can chime in and get and share with us, or you can put it in the chat box.
Or both.
My one is who's in charge? The person with the pole.
Thank you.
And the boss, and the mission's the boss. Good reminder again. Don't ask me, ask the mission. You got to unmute yourself if you want to say something or put it in the chat box. So just want to remind you.
Input equals ownership.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, my BFO kind of springs off a comment that Chuck made the other day that 98% of the businesses in the United States have 10 employees or less. That's 98%. And so this manual, this distributed leadership methodology, is a very powerful tool for us to repair our economy and make ourselves strong, because we are the backbone of the economy. That's all there is to it.
Thank you.
I think you're trying to say something, Sanjay, but you're muted.
But I was saying that it's something for me to explore. Signing a contract does something to the brain, because I usually don't sign for other people. I sign for myself. So I got to keep that word to myself and see, okay, what does that do to me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Terry said,
Thank you.
her BFO said 12 tools of leadership and distribution, and I need the book.
Sweet.
Awesome. Chuck, you got one?
Well, yeah, I think mine continues to be the community aspect of this, that I think this whole idea of distributed decision-making builds community. And the community will be the next great discussion at work.
Yeah. And so thank you, because that really, you know, is always the other bookend of our meeting, is really get in community. And, you know, just like Chuck said to JR, start a mastermind. I mean, like 3 to 5 clubs are all about community. And, you know, if you want to visit, we'd love to have you. But, you know, if that just doesn't work out for you right that, then start one of your own. Start a mastermind of your own. Start a little group of your own, you know, with like-minded people that want to grow. We just want to see you in community somewhere, because we cannot do this alone. And it's no fun anyway.
That's right. Way more fun to
So,
rub shoulders with other people who don't know.
Anybody got a quick, great quote you want to throw in the chat box or
chime in with?
Or chime in with us?
Yeah, give us a quote to send us out. Something to inspire our week.
Well, I'll just say you get what you intend, not what you hope for. The kind of hope we're talking about is intention. So maybe write down an intention this week. What do you intend to create this week? Put it in the chat box.
Bring what it may, cherish each day.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you,
Thanks,
Wayne.
Wayne. Hey, thanks, everybody. Great to see your faces today.
We'll see you on August 31st.
Keep going.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.